So, it's that time of year again. Well, not that time of year when we actually get the new iPhone, but the time when the rumor mill starts spinning at full speed, the leaks start trickling in, and everyone starts building their wish list for what they want to see next. And this year, the chatter is all about the iPhone 17. We're still a ways out, but the picture is already starting to form, and it's looking interesting. There's a lot of potential on the table, from some much-needed quality-of-life improvements to some seriously ambitious leaps forward. And then there's the white whale, the unicorn of the smartphone world that we've been hearing about for years, the foldable iPhone. Is this the year? Probably not. But a guy can dream, right? Either way, it's fun to speculate on what Apple's take on a foldable would even look like. But for today, we're going to focus on the more grounded, but equally important features that people are genuinely hoping to see in the next generation of iPhones. What are the things that would actually make a difference in your day-to-day use? We're going to break down the top 5 most requested features, the ones I see popping up in my comments and on Twitter all the time. We'll dive into everything from the battery and cameras to charging speeds and even the price tag. It's the ultimate iPhone 17 wish list. Let's get into it. Alright, let's start with the big one, the one thing that year after year tops almost every single list, and that is, of course, battery life. It's kind of the foundational feature of any portable device, right? If it's dead, all the other fancy features don't matter. Apple has made some decent strides in recent years, especially with the Pro Max models, which are pretty much two-day phones for a lot of people. But for the regular models, and especially as the phone gets a bit older and the battery health degrades, it can still be a source of anxiety. The hope for the iPhone 17 isn't just an incremental bump. People aren't asking for an extra 30 minutes of screen-on time. The real dream is a fundamental shift in what we expect from an iPhone's battery. Imagine leaving the house without a charger or a battery pack, not as a risky move but as the default. Imagine going on a weekend trip and not even thinking about plugging in until you get back on Sunday night. That's the level of freedom and peace of mind users are really craving. It's about removing that little bit of background processing in your own brain that's constantly tracking your battery percentage. So how could they do it? Well, it's a combination of things. A slightly thicker chassis to fit a physically larger battery cell is the most obvious answer, and honestly, I think most people would be fine with that trade-off. But it's also about efficiency. A more power-efficient chip, a more advanced display that uses less power, and smarter software optimizations in iOS that sip rather than gulp energy. It's this holistic approach that could finally get us to a place where battery life is no longer a daily conversation but just a given. A true all-day and then some battery. Okay, next up, cameras. The iPhone camera is already incredible, there's no debating that. For most people, in most situations with good lighting, it's one of the most reliable point-and-shoot cameras you can get. The photos are sharp, the colors are great, and the video is still class-leading, but the in-good lighting part is key, where Apple's competitors, particularly on the Android side of things, have really started to pull ahead is in challenging lighting conditions. This is where the next big leap for the iPhone camera needs to happen. We're talking about significant improvements in low-light photography. Not just brighter photos, but cleaner, more detailed photos with less noise. This means bigger sensors that can capture more light and wider apertures on the lenses, but it's also heavily reliant on computational photography. We want to see the next generation of deep fusion in night mode, software that can intelligently stack multiple exposures to create a final image that looks natural and detailed, not like an artificially brightened muddy mess. The goal is to be able to capture the vibe of a dimly lit restaurant or a city street at night without losing all the character. And then there's video. Apple already leads the pack here, but there's always room to grow. Pro-level features like ProRes are great, but how about bringing some of that low-light magic to video recording? Imagine shooting clean, stable, and vibrant video at a concert or a bonfire without it turning into a grainy mess. And let's not forget the other lenses. The ultra-wide and telephoto lenses often lag behind the main sensor in quality, especially in low light. The hope for the iPhone 17 is a more consistent, high-quality experience across all 3 lenses, no matter what the lighting conditions are. This one feels like it's been on the list for a while now: faster charging. We finally made the switch to USB-C, which was a huge step in the right direction for convenience and creating a universal standard. But when it comes to the actual speed of charging, Apple is still playing catch-up. When you have Android phones on the market that can go from 0 to 100% in under 20 minutes, the iPhone's roughly 2-hour charging time can feel painfully slow, especially when you're in a hurry. The demand here is pretty straightforward. People want to be able to top up their phone significantly in a very short amount of time. Imagine plugging your phone in while you take a 15-minute shower and coming back to find it has enough juice to last you the rest of the day. That's the kind of utility that makes a real difference. This isn't about needing 120-watt charging, but even jumping to something in the 45 or 65-watt range would be a massive quality of life improvement for millions of users who are used to the current, slower speeds. Now, Apple's whole philosophy is to prioritize battery longevity and health over raw charging speed, which is a valid concern. Pushing too much power too quickly can degrade the battery over time, but the technology has evolved. There are now smarter charging systems that can manage heat and power delivery much more effectively. And what about wireless charging? MagSafe is cool, but it's still relatively slow. The dream would be a new generation of MagSafe that's not only faster, maybe approaching the speeds of the current wired charging, but also more efficient, generating less waste heat in the process. For years, the core appeal of iOS has been its simplicity and ease of use. It just works. But that simplicity has always come at the cost of customization. What you see is what you get. In recent years, Apple has slowly started to loosen the reins, giving us things like widgets on the home screen and more control over the lock screen. But for many users, especially those who have peeked over the fence at the world of Android, it's still not enough. The desire for more personalization is growing louder. People want to be able to truly make their iPhone their own. This means more than just changing the wallpaper. It means having the ability to place app icons anywhere on the grid, not just having them snap to the top left. It means the option to use third-party icon packs to create a truly unique aesthetic. Or how about changing the default apps for everything, not just the browser and email client? This isn't about turning iOS into a complicated mess. It's about providing options for those who want them, while keeping the simple default experience for everyone else. This extends to hardware personalization as well. Apple's color choices have become a bit predictable and muted, especially for the Pro models. People are hoping for a return to more vibrant and expressive color options like the fun colors we see on the base iMacs. And what about the action button? It's a great start, but its functionality is still somewhat limited. The hope is that Apple will expand its capabilities, allowing it to be mapped to multiple functions with different presses, or to run more complex shortcuts seamlessly. It's about giving the user more control to make the device work for them, not the other way around. And finally, we have to talk about the price. Look, iPhones are premium products, and they come with a premium price tag. Nobody is expecting a flagship iPhone 17 Pro Max to suddenly cost $500. That's just not realistic. But over the past few years, the prices have steadily crept up, and the top-tier models are now well into luxury item territory. This has pushed a lot of people towards older models or the standard non-Pro versions. The hope is for a more accessible entry point without major compromises. The dream isn't necessarily a cheaper flagship, but perhaps a more capable and modern entry-level iPhone. The iPhone SE has served this role, but it often feels like it's built from a collection of much older parts, with an outdated design and a single camera. What people seem to want is a more modern-looking phone, maybe with the dynamic island and a design similar to the main lineup, but with a slightly less powerful chip or a standard 60 Hz display to keep the cost down. A good enough iPhone that doesn't feel like a significant step down. This addresses a huge segment of the market, people who want the iOS experience, the ecosystem, and the security, but don't need the absolute best triple camera system or a promotion display. It's about value. Can Apple deliver a phone in the, say, $500 to $600 range that feels like a 2025 device, not a 2021 device? Striking that balance between features and affordability is incredibly difficult, but if they could pull it off, it would be a massive win and could bring a whole new wave of users into the Apple ecosystem without them having to break the bank. So that's the list. Longer battery life, a more capable camera system, faster charging, deeper customization, and a more accessible price point. These are the big 5 features that seem to be on everyone's mind for the iPhone 17. Of course, Apple being Apple, they'll probably surprise us with something we didn't even know we wanted. but if they could just nail these fundamentals, it would make the iPhone 17 one of the most significant and well-loved upgrades in years. It's about refining the core experience to a point where the phone just fades into the background and lets you live your life. But that's just my take on what the community is asking for. The real question is, what do you want to see? Did I miss anything? Are you holding out for a periscope zoom lens and under-display camera? Or maybe you're one of the few who still wants Touch ID to make a comeback? Or are you all in on the foldable dream, just waiting for Apple to finally show their hand? The conversation is always the best part of these videos, so I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts on this. Drop your own iPhone 17 wishlist down in the comments below. What's your #1 most wanted feature? Let me know. It's always fun to look back on these videos in a year or so and see what we got right and what we got hilariously wrong. As always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, hitting that subscribe button is